So I got a comment from a longtime viewer, Godred. It stated, I don't like Stain, he's one of my least favorite villains. And thinking about that, and thinking about the hundreds and hundreds of videos that have been made on Stain, I think I've come to a conclusion on Stain, because personally, I thought he was a fairly well-developed character for just a one-off villain that's only there for a couple episodes. Stain has just enough layers to both his personality, his motives, and his abilities that really you can pick him up and just run with him for a little while. It makes the mind really like start going into overdrive thinking about the different ways Stain can be used in different situations, and also it's easy enough and simple enough to understand that really anyone can pick him up almost immediately. In this sense, Stain is a perfect one-off villain. He has an interesting, engaging power that can be used in a multitude of different ways that was fully realized. He has an ideology that's interesting and further develops the world of My Hero Academia, and he also has just enough layers to him to make him a more dynamic character. But the reason I really think he resonated was because of the fact he is such a simple character. He's just there for a couple episodes, he states what he's about, he uses his power in a multitude of different ways that are all very easily understood and fully fleshes out his character, his drive, his motivation, and he's easily grasped. Stain isn't an incredibly complex character, and that serves in his favor greatly. There are other characters that have far more complexity than Stain does, but Stain kind of represents that perfect shonen formula, or that perfect pop formula. He's so easy to grasp, anyone can latch onto him and understand him immediately, because it doesn't take a lot to actually fully realize what his character is about and what his powers do. But at the same time, they're just engaging enough that really you can take him in a multitude of different ways. It kind of strikes that fine balance between the two sides that makes it super easy for a multitude of different people to look at him and think it's interesting. I think that really explains why there are hundreds of YouTube videos on Stain, just because of the fact he is so simple but yet so potent. And of course, because of the fact that those videos are successful, because, well, anyone who watches My Hero Academia probably latched on to Stain in some way, because again, he's so easy to latch on to. So we have this character who you can easily analyze, easily make some good points on, and easily find an audience that are interested in what you have to say about him. I think that in of itself explains a lot of the reasons why Stain is a good villain, but further than that, I think that has a lot to do with how solid My Hero Academia's writing is, because this isn't an optimal or great or fantastic or legendary character. This is just a normal character. This is a villain of the week character. But the difference is, this villain of the week struck a chord with everybody. And I feel like that's the difference between a great shonen series and the subpar shonen series. If you think of One Piece or a series along those lines, then almost every character is iconic and original and amazing and has this great design and this great power and this huge amount of potential that you can do so many things with, and this strong personality and character that like you can immediately latch onto and understand and then run with in 100 different ways. And that's why One Piece is as great as it is because of how strong its cast is. Whereas something like Bleach, one of the reasons that didn't find as much success is because of the fact, yeah, every character was semi-unique and semi-well-designed and semi-fleshed out and had some powers, but in the end, they all just kind of blended together and all ended up being the same thing in the end. There wasn't really any one character that was completely unique. Whereas Stain, when he enters the series, he is almost completely unique. Sure, he has some similarities with the League of Villains, but other than that, he is a whole thing of his own. And beyond just that, he's entertaining. And I think that is an important aspect. He brings a certain level of dread with him. As soon as he comes in, he immediately grabs the tone and sets it to his own pace. But when the heroes actually end up beating him, then the tone flatlines. It just becomes this nothing, this uncomfortable, this unsure what is actually happening, until he emerges and re-grabs the hold and restates his purpose and redefines what he is and what his tone is. And that's why it had that potent effect. Even though it was very easily seen coming, but because it was easily seen coming, it was easily digested. Honestly, Stain is probably a great pop character. He's got just enough depth and just enough ease of access to really just hit every cylinder. I think that is a lot to do with what My Hero Academia is in general, though. They have great character designs with strong personalities and immediately engaging powers that you can do things with. And I think that is the core of what makes a great shonen series, and really just a series in general. It could be a little bit of Stain was lucky in the right place at the right time, or was the first really great villain to be introduced to the series. Those are all strong possibilities of his great success, but at the same time, I do feel like it is a little bit to do with the fact Stain is just a strong character on his own. I do feel like after seeing what My Hero Academia can do from season 1 and season 2, it really does have potential to become like one of the big shonen series and eventually be looked upon fondly in the future. Even though it doesn't really break the mold in really any way, it's still just a very strongly put together piece of shonen media. I feel like that's something that shouldn't be overlooked, or if anything, it should be looked at specifically because of the fact it makes a great basis to build off of. If you can make My Hero Academia, if you can recreate what My Hero Academia does and stands for, then all of a sudden you can start adding to it and then make something that's truly great. And I suppose I'm just looking forward to the day when someone does that.